What are you still a little concerned about for the Ohio State Buckeyes coming out of spring football? Doug Limerice and Stephen Means. Ryan Day was asked that question after the game Saturday. He said offensive line, and I think that's a reasonable answer, although I don't know that I'm that concerned about it. Again, I think they have a lot of potential there. I talked to Wyatt Davis a lot after the game. I'm really high on Wyatt Davis, who started just at the end of last year. I think there's reason to have high hopes for Josh Myers at center. Thayer Munford's going to be back at left tackle. I think maybe the tackles, Thayer Munford's been out all spring. He's got to get healthy. And then Nicholas Petit-Frere, was giving some stuff up on Saturday going against Chase Young and Zach Harrison and some of these guys. And he's a young guy. He's a true sophomore that they want to win that job. So that's okay, but they got to lock down those tackle spots a little bit, I think. So I actually may not be as concerned about it as Ryan Day said. He didn't freak out about it, but that very quickly was out of his mouth. What's the number one thing? So I guess that's where I'd go. Where would you go, Stephen, with your concern?
I'm going to go on the defensive end. I'm going to go with the bullet. They talked about that a lot in the spring. We pretty much every time we talked to them, we had a conversation about the bullet. We asked Brendan White about it, who's going to probably be the starter there. I didn't see it as much as maybe you thought you would see it for a defensive coaching staff that talked about it as much as they did. We didn't see a lot of opportunities, and I don't think I walked away from this game with a clear understanding of what that role is going to be. Are we going to see that on a consistent basis, or is it going to depend on what they see offensively?
I think they're working some stuff out defensively. Jocelyn Wint, who's been the backup bullet, whatever he was playing on Saturday, made a couple plays. That was good for them. And then actually, it's the obvious one, the quarterbacks. And Ryan Day even said that there's sort of this underlying thing. I just think there's, and we talked about this, I think, early in spring. There's just not a lot of sure things. Chase Young is going to be great. Malik Harrison flashed today. He's always Malik Harrison. There's just not – KJ Hill's going to be KJ Hill. But when you look at the starting 22, I still think at this point, sort of in general, maybe it's hard to pinpoint. You're super worried about this and that and the other. But it's how many things do you feel great about? And I think maybe that would be the overall concern, is just maybe a general uncertainty sort of percolating underneath what's going on right now. Certainly could have upside, but I think there's a little bit of this underneath right there, like that underneath. Steve, you know what I'm saying? Under the
ceiling's really high, but then the basement's really low too. That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. At Ohio State, the ceiling's always high, but sometimes it's the ceiling's high and they can't go worse than 10-2. And it's right now, they're not going to go 5-7, but there's just a little uncertainty, and that kind of makes things interesting sometimes. So stick with Steven, stick with me. Spring football is over. We are not done. We will continue to write and talk and podcast and everything else from now until the start of preseason practice in August. See you later from cleveland.com.